2 of the blockbuster conversation between Chris and Tucker Carlson. It's generated a ton of buzz. Let's get a quick reaction from John Ziegler, conservative commentator, host of the Death of Journalism podcast. John is a straight shooter, very often critical of the media. Thanks so much for coming on the show. Appreciate it. All right, your first reaction to the interview.
Dan, I appreciate what your colleague Chris Cuomo is trying to do with these conversations with conservative celebrities that he's been engaging in, obviously Tucker Carlson being the most prominent among them, because most elite media members treat conservative media celebrities like they're aliens from outer space. It should be noted that Tucker Carlson now at least pretends to believe that we have been visited by aliens from outer space. And it's one of the many crazy conspiracy theories that the new Tucker Carlson seems to believe in, including the conspiracy theory surrounding January 6th, which was the focus of much of today's version of the Tucker Carlson interview. And I have been very critical of Tucker for his revisionist history on January 6th. And I predicted on your show just less than a year ago that revisionist history, as well as other narratives very, very friendly to Donald Trump that Tucker Carlson was integral to creating, was going to pave the path for Donald Trump to be the Republican presidential nominee. And that, from my perspective, unfortunately, has come to bear. And that's why Tucker Carlson is an important figure in the media, even though he's no longer at Fox News Channel. Yeah,
and I think the most shocking thing I heard from him, I thought, and there were a number of things which I found to be somewhat stunning in what he said, was this idea that the Democratic Party is intentionally pursuing policies to prevent women from having children for political advantage. Let's listen.
I'm talking specifically about women. They want to be married and have children, and that is the thing that the Democratic Party prevents them from having through policy. And the reason they do that is because the single most important constituency, it's unmarried women of all races. And so they do a lot of different things to discourage marriage and fertility. One of them is paying single moms not to be married. Another is constantly promoting anti-fertility measures like abortion and birth control. And I think that's evil.
Look, you can disagree with policies, but basically claiming that the reason it's happening is in an effort to gain political advantage by preventing women from having children, that's no longer policy where they're kind of two sides. It seems to me now you're into, a real conspiracy land.
Well, Tucker, as I've already implied, has gone off the deep end on many conspiracy theories. I think, as is often the case with Tucker, there's a grain of truth in what he's saying. But I would counter his main argument by saying, if this was a conspiracy by Democrats to do this, why is the Democratic Party so in favor of abortion rights? Because, frankly, abortion rights, from a generational standpoint, have worked against the Democratic Party dramatically in many of these very same demographics that he's talking about. It makes no sense.
Yeah. And one other thing that I want to play for you, and this is something he said in the version we played last night, and this is saying that he was really forced, in effect, by CNN to take a particular position on the Iraq War, number 7.
I was definitely used by your former employer and mine, CNN, to flack for the Iraq War, and I allowed that without even really knowing it was happening, and I was always bitter about that in the way that you are when you've done something wrong. In other words, if you fight with your wife and it's 100% her fault, you're not that mad. But if it's really your fault, then you're extra mad because you're mad at yourself. And I've been mad at myself for 20 years over the things that I said and was pushed into saying, promoting the Iraq War, which is totally indefensible in my opinion.
Again, just own it, right? If you say something on the air that you now look back on, and I've said things, right, on the air that, I'm sorry I said, just say, I'm sorry I said it. You know what? I didn't know enough about it. But this idea that somehow CNN forced him to take a position on the Iraq War, again, just, I think, defies credibility.
Well, once again, it's a conspiracy theory. He's not seen any conspiracy theory related to the media that he doesn't like, especially related to his own firing at Fox News Channel. Look, this is a guy who believes that Alex Jones correctly predicted 9/11 coming. So his credibility on this issue is not very high. As far as his view of CNN, now look, I know CNN has changed a lot, but the idea that CNN was somehow shilling for the Bush administration while he was there is a far-fetched. He told Chris Cuomo he's never done drugs in his life. I think the next time Chris talks to him, he might want to take a urine test with him because, frankly, the idea that CNN was pro-right-wing, conservative, pro-Trump war to the extent that they would force him to take a position, I think is fantasy.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find News Nation on your cable provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of News Nation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.